Welcome to another market update with Ken, Heather, and Colin. It is October 4th, 2023, and we are covering September. We have one big, remarkable change that we're all kind of surprised to see, and we're going to cover the question, how long does it take to sell a house in this market? But before we get to that question, let's start with the stats.
So the stats that we pull from California Regional Multiple Listing Service for SLO County Residential, we always pull 4 data points, and 3 out of those 4, not surprising. So 5 months of inventory, just like the last couple of months, less sales than usual. We were at 216, which last year, September was a little bit higher than that. We were all the way up in the high 300s. The year before that, I think 376. And then the number of days to sell, the median number of days to sell is still at 12. So 3 out of 4, not much news to report, but the 4th stat was the price. And we have been seeing the rates continue to rise, all kinds of gloom and doom on the news. And yet, from August to September, the median home price went up here. So the new median price for September is $833,500. And one of the things that I found really interesting about that number, it's up from $810 in August of this year, but we've had such a volatile market and so much gloom and doom about the rates and the low inventory and the prices, and a lot of talk about how volatile the market is. And yet when we look at the prices being in the 830s, there are 3 other months. I went back over the last year and a half since May of 2022 was the height of our market. And the prices were in the 830s last month, also in June of 2023, also in August of 2022, and also in April of 2022. So April of 2022 was just 1 month off the very peak of our market, and our prices are right back in that same spot. So although prices have been all over the place, up and down, values haven't really changed that much during this time. The reason why we find it surprising that the prices are going up is because the rates are so high. So it's just an even stronger indication that once the rates start to come down, the prices are going to be going up. If they're holding with a difference of your average rate lock is around 3 to now it's around 8, then once it comes back down into the 6s, it's just going to take off again. So that was the big surprise with the stats. And now let's turn it over to Ken to hear about the latest and what's going on in mortgage news.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, rates have continued to go the wrong direction, especially just over the last couple of weeks. So to give you some quotes, we are seeing things in the low 8s and high 7s depending on the scenario. So we are at the worst level that we've been since October of 22, and here we are again, and we actually just surpassed that level. We've had some positive news regarding inflation recently, so it'll take a little bit for that to take hold, in my opinion, and hopefully start to recover. It's just how fast will that really occur. The information that I love to share with my clients that we were just discussing earlier is a little bit different than Heather's because of the source that I'm pulling these numbers from. I don't think includes certain properties, mobile homes, etc. So I'm showing SLO County to have an average price of $878. But what shows the resilience for me that I like to share, as I mentioned, is the historical appreciation and then the data that's going to support that. So over the last 63 years, we've still averaged 5.35% appreciation. The last 7 years, it's been 6.5%. In the last 5 years, it's been 7%. So the forecast, which I hate, but based on this data, I love to be data-driven and not opinionated, is that it's going to continue. So based on that median price, somebody were to purchase there, they would gain $275,000 in equity over the next 5 years based on this forecast. What's driving that is just the simple supply and demand. There's no more basic example in real estate, in my opinion. As Heather mentioned, once rates go down, there's going to bring more demand, and demand is currently exceeding supply already. So it's only going to exacerbate the price issue for buyers. So as hard as it is to get your head around this actually being a good time to buy, coming into the 4th quarter, which is typically a little bit less active, and having rates so high, is that as soon as rates cooperate, you're going to have to compete with more and more buyers, and that's going to drive price up even further. So I do think even in the face of rates, it's a really, really good opportunity to enter the market.
Awesome. thank you for all that news. And then we're just going to jump right into the other question that we keep hearing from people is, how long does it take to sell a house in this market? And the only thing that really makes sense to me for why this keeps coming up is because nobody needed to ask us for a few years. It was just like 3 days.
Right.
And so now the median days to sell for our area is 12 days. But that is, again, the tale of two different types of properties. The property that is priced really well is something that appeals to a broad audience of buyers. So usually it's like an in-town, under $1 million, attractive property. Those are still going to sell, and they're going to have an offer in 3 days. And sometimes they're going to have 2. And then the other properties that just either don't appeal to the broad audience of buyers, maybe they're a little bit further out of town than a lot of the buyers that are moving from the city want to be here, or it's priced too high, then those are taking much longer to sell. We see those listings with 60, 90 days on the market, but it's the median, not the average. So if you're a seller thinking, how long is it going to take me from the point that I put my house on the market until I'm closed? Usually for our clients, we like to do a little prep so they get more bang for your buck out of your house. So it usually takes longer still to prepare your house to sell than it takes to go into escrow. So you might be a few weeks to a month into preparing your house to sell, then get it on the market. And if you are that appealing house and you've priced it right, you can expect that you're going to be in escrow within the first 5 days. And if you're not, then talk to us. We can give you more precise data about your exact location, price point, whatnot. Then from the point that we go into escrow, let's talk to Ken about that. So for financed buyers, what is the typical escrow length that you're seeing?
I would say typically around 3 weeks. To close in 2 weeks is not a problem right now. The only variable is appraisals, but I'm seeing appraisers accept orders very fast and able to get them done very fast. So a 2-week close is not that difficult at all right now. And to put together the strategy to be successful in an offer, I love to come in that aggressive with really strong terms regarding contingencies as well.
So I would have answered that question as the most common is 30 days, but I guess that's because most of the seller clients that I have are not working with you for a loan, so they probably don't realize that it could go that fast on a regular basis right now. So that's awesome. 3 weeks is a pretty short close. So you could be looking at a month of prep and a few days of showings and less than a month of escrow, and the whole process is completed.
Well, I do think a lot of consumers and lenders will still default to the traditional 30 days, which is why we still see that. But what I like to do, like I said, is to be a little bit more aggressive on that front because it's so doable, and just to be that much more attractive if it's a competitive situation.
So most of your buyers are able to offer a faster close to the seller and maybe a little bit of seller in possession after closing if the seller needs a little bit more time to move
Absolutely.
out. And then most of your buyers are experiencing not paying over 8%. And
Correct.
why is that?
Correct. I am just getting exceptions to stay as competitive as possible. So I'll do one of two things. Either make the exception to keep us into the 7s that's needed, which can range from a half point or more in fee, or cover the 1-year temporary buy down without charging the buyer or seller for that.
Awesome.
Well, that was a fire hose of information from the two of you. Hope you all got that. Anything else that you wanted to add?
I mean, I could talk all day. You know that.
No, you could. You guys, we get going, and we just keep going. I think that's it. So we'll see everybody back here in November.
Bye.